First the flood, now the frustrations. High River residents say that the government isn't communicating with them. All they want to do is go back to their homes, but the province is still demanding everyone abide by the evacuation order. Josh Kernick is live in High River with the latest. Good morning, Josh.
Good morning, Pat. Now, I know that we're all seeing these images of people in Calgary getting back to normal, cleaning out their homes, starting to get back to work, getting on with their lives. But here in High River, it's a totally different story. And to show you, look at this kind of bog that I'm standing in. Well, guess what? This usually isn't a bog. This is actually a road. You can see where it gets cut off right over here. There's a sign right in the middle, and that just shows just how bad it is here. This is all water left over from the High Wood River, which crested last week around Thursday and forced an evacuation of 13,000 people in this small town about 45 minutes southwest of Calgary. And if you look at images of Ground Zero, it is still terrible. There are cars all over the place, flipped over, out of place. There's mud caked on the roads, foundations of homes ripped away. The RCMP says this shows that this town is not ready for people to move back in. And yet, despite this evacuation order, there are still 300 people who have remained. They're saying, hey, this is our home. We're here for the long haul. We think it's safe. Now, to that, though, the RCMP says, well, hey, just on Sunday, we had to rescue 8 of you. You thought you were in a good position. Things got bad real quick, and we had to pull you out. And that's just the kind of thing we don't need to be doing. We need to be putting our resources to getting things back on track, not taking care of you as you're in a bad situation. Now, for the majority of people who did evacuate, as they were told, they're now frustrated that they're not allowed to even check on their homes, assess the damage, see what needs to be done. And that's what locals were saying yesterday when we talked to them.
Anyway. So why is it in High River that all they talk about is it's a security risk, and they don't tell us what they're doing? We don't see pumping trucks, we don't see hoses working, we don't see people being allowed to fix up their houses. We're asking, what? Why is this different?
I left immediately with 1 pair of pants on, 2 pairs of shorts, and a hat, and in my slippers, and expecting to get back. Now they're telling me it's another. I've been out 5, 6 days. I've lost track, and now they're telling me I got another nine days to wait before I can even go back.
So you see real frustration right there. People just wanting to see how things are going, wanting to check on their things, and also just to take care of themselves too. You heard that one man saying he has no clothes, he has nothing. He thought he was going to be able to get back into his home to get what he needed. So a lot of frustration on all fronts. Pat.
Josh, thanks so much, and I'm glad you brought your hip waders into work today.
Hey, of course, you know, got to do what you got to do.
Okay, thanks. High River residents say the government isn't communicating with them. All they want to do is get back to their homes, but the province is still demanding that everyone abide by this whole evacuation order. Josh Kernick is live in High River with the latest, and he's still in that pond. Did you move in the last hour?
I did. I got a little bit dry, but of course I want to show you just what we're dealing with here. So like I had said, we're seeing these images of people getting back to their lives in Calgary. You heard that about 80% of those roads are getting back open. But here in High River, it is not the case. So once again, I'm going to show you this bog that I'm standing in, not that. This is actually a road usually. If you look behind me, you can see where it got cut off by the floodwaters. There's a sign right there. This is all water left over from the receding High Wood River that crested last Thursday. And almost a week later, it's still here. And it just shows how bad off this small town about 45 minutes southwest of Calgary is. If you take a look at the footage that we gathered yesterday when we got a military escort in, it is bad. There is debris everywhere. There's mud caked on the roads. There are trees lying in the middle of them. The foundations of homes are ripped apart. And despite all of this, though, there are still 300 people who have denied the evacuation request. They say, hey, this is our home, we think it's safe, and we're here for the long haul. While we were there, we talked to some of them about the dangers that the RCMP and the mayor says that they're facing. Let's take a listen.
We got lots of water, we got lots of food. I'm not concerned. I'm at home in the safety of my 5 animals that we weren't willing to leave, and so that's why we're here.
We're not hurting nothing. okay? There's military and everybody else in this town using the sewer systems. We're not hurting nothing. We're protecting our homes. We're protecting the neighborhood. If they let us out, we'd go to work and we come back at night and protect our home. Plain and simple.
Now to this though, the RCMP says, hey guys, on Sunday we had to rescue 8 of you. You thought that you were in a safe position, but then things got bad real quick and we had to go and get you out. And the RCMP says that's exactly what they don't need to be doing. They need to be diverting their resources to cleaning up that town, not taking care of the people who have decided to stay behind. Now, another thing, though, is the majority of the people who did leave, they're not able to get back to even see their homes, assess the damage, see what needs to be done. And to that, the RCMP says, guys, we don't have anything to give you to actually take care of you with. We can't offer you any gas. We can't offer you any food. There's no electricity, there's no running water. Every single time that you would have to go to the bathroom, all of that sewage would go right out into the roads. And so it is just simply not safe. And so there is no timeline that they can give them. That's according to the RCMP and the mayor. And so for the meantime, those residents will have to just wait until they can ever get back into their homes. Pat.
Okay, Josh, thanks so much.
Of course.
Coming up, we've got headlines and business. Well, High River residents say that the government is not communicating with them. They all want to go back to their homes, but the province is still demanding that everyone abide by the evacuation order. Now, Josh Kernick is live in High River. We've seen him in the water. And Josh, is the water level moving at all, up or down?
Well, Pat, it really isn't it. And yes, I had to move locations because the RCMP came around and said that it was not safe for us to be there. But if you can just look behind me, for the viewers just joining us, you can see that big, what looks like a lake. Well, guess what? That's not a lake. That is actually what's left over from the Highwood River, which crested last Thursday. And a week later, there's so much left. You can see they've started to build a berm behind me to try and cross it so they can start pumping it. But there is a lot of work to be done in this small town of about 13,000 people, 45 minutes southwest of Calgary. If we take a look at the footage that we got yesterday when we had a military convoy in there, it's devastated still. There's debris everywhere, cars turned over, trees in the middle of the roads, mud caked everywhere. And despite all of this, though, there are still 300 residents who will not leave. They say this is their home, they're here for the long haul, and they think that it's safe. But to this, the RCMP says, hey, on Sunday, we had to rescue 8 of you that thought it was safe, and yet the situation got bad real quick, and we had to go in and get you out. And the RCMP says that's exactly the thing they're trying to avoid. They want to focus on cleaning up the town, not babysitting the people who won't leave. Now, to the people, the residents who are seeing in Calgary people getting back to their lives, cleaning up their homes now, the mayor says, guys, this is not the same thing as Calgary. What we have is totally different. Let's take a listen from the mayor.
What you don't understand is we don't have a flood. We have a disaster. Floods are very easy to deal with. Water comes, water goes, and then we clean up afterwards. This is a major disaster we're dealing with. It's at the same level as the Slave Lake fire that devastated that community. That's what we're dealing with, and that is a major reason we cannot have residents return to the town of High River. It is simply not safe to be there.
Now, what makes things a lot harder, though, for a municipal official like that is when you have a provincial official living in that town. Guess what? Danielle Smith, the official opposition leader of the Wild Rose Party, she lives in High River. And she came by yesterday to give her 2 cents on the situation. Let's take a listen from what she had to say.
So the sense that I'm getting is that over the past 5 days, they have moved from being locally controlled, locally managed, embracing of volunteers to becoming more and more bureaucratic and less responsive to the needs of residents. And that's a real problem because the residents here actually are the experts. Just get them started. Let them get into at least one zone in town and get them started as a measure of goodwill to the community and as a signal that things are progressing, because you get the impression that this town is never going to reopen again. If you refuse to tell people when you're going to be able to start re-entry, how you're going to do the entry, whether it will be 2 days, 2 months, or 2 years, you're creating more fear than you need to. So here's the point. They can make whatever decisions they want. I'm not the decision maker here, but they have to start communicating.
So take a look at this situation. You have a local municipal official at odds against a provincial official. Really, this just shows the frustration. Nobody likes this situation. Everyone wants to get back to their homes, but the people here, they need to make sure that it's safe for those who want to see what's going on with their property. And the people and the properties, well, they just want to get on with their lives.
Okay, Josh, thank you so much. Josh Skurnik.
Of course.
Out of the water.
Let's get to the Alberta flood situation now, where waters are receding but frustrations are rising. Residents in High River say the government is not communicating with them. They want to go back to their homes, but officials insist people obey the evacuation orders in place. Let's get the latest on this story from Josh Skurnik, who is live in High River and has more. So Josh, tell us, how are residents coping today?
Well, it's a lot of the same, except that we now know there's 300 people still inside of this small town about 45 minutes southwest of Calgary. Some of them are children also. And we also know that of the 13,000 people, the majority who did leave, some are now filing court injunctions to try and force their way back into town to check on their things in their homes. You got to remember, for almost a week now, most of the people here have not been able to even see their homes and see if there's any damage and what they can do to try and start mitigating that damage. So it's just a very bad situation all around. The mayor in a press conference yesterday said that this is just unprecedented. These people can't look to what's happening in Calgary, where people are starting to go back to their lives, cleaning up things and getting on with their lives. He said that High River experienced something totally different. If you look behind me, we still have this huge body of water just standing there, and that's not a lake. That was not there before this last Thursday. That is all of the water left over from the Highwood River when it breached this last week. It's not going anywhere. You see that they built a berm. The plan is to start pumping it out, but that is just indicative of what's going on inside of the town. Now, we had an actual tour. We had a military convoy where we could go in with our cameras. And if the viz is up, you'll see that this town is still just a disaster. There are trees all over the place. The mud is caked on the sidewalk. Cars are strewn like plastic toys. It's something that people just don't want to be in, and that's what the mayor is saying. But yet we still have these locals who say, hey, just let us in to just check on our homes. And that's what some of the people were saying when we talked to them yesterday. Let's take a listen.
So why is it in High River that all they talk about is it's a security risk, and they don't tell us what they're doing? We don't see pumping trucks, we don't see hoses working, we don't see people being allowed to fix up their houses. We're asking, what? Why is this different?
I left immediately with one pair of pants on, 2 pairs of shorts, and a hat, and I'm in my slippers, and expecting to get back. Now they're telling me it's another. I've been out 5, 6 days. I've lost track, and now they're telling me I got another nine days to wait before I can even go back.
So, I mean, it really breaks your heart listening to these people. These are just average citizens who, yeah, they have nothing right now. That one guy had his slippers and a pair of pants. I mean, wow. He thought that he was going to be able to get back in, and it's been a week now. So it's a bad situation all around. You have municipal officials who are doing their best to get this town into order. You have to remember, there's no electricity, there's no running water. Every single time one of those 300 people flush their toilets, it goes right into the streets. So it's not getting better quickly, and worst off, they don't know when it's going to get better.
Yeah, and for folks who are staying with, say, friends or family, they don't want to wear out their welcome either, right? A few days, I'm hearing, is pretty cool. A few weeks, maybe months, a totally different story, right?
Well, yeah, and they do have these centers set up where evacuees can go for emergency shelters and such. And the province of Alberta has now approved, like I think you've heard it, $1 billion of aid. So people can qualify for these debit cards that I think have like $1,250 on them, $1,250. But still, that doesn't change the fact that they can't get into their homes. And so, yes, most people are staying with family and friends. But the bottom line is they want to get home.
They do,
especially
indeed.
since they want to see what's wrong with their homes, right?
Okay.
They want to see if their home is even there anymore.
Absolutely. All right, Josh, we really appreciate it. We're going to check in with you again at the top of the next hour. Thanks so much.
Of course.
That's Josh Skurnik in High River, Alberta. Let's get to the Alberta flood situation where waters are receding and frustrations are rising. Residents in High River say the government is not communicating with them. They want to go back to their homes, but officials insist folks obey the evacuation order. Let's get the latest on the folks who want to go home and the folks who won't leave. Josh Skurnik, what's happening there?
Well, there's actually a pretty welcome sign, I think, for the locals around here. Take a look behind me. You can see heavy machinery on that berm that they built. So this is stuff that's going back into that town, dirt, supplies, things that they need in order to shore up things there. So things are underway, but of course you saw that huge body of water behind me, and that is not a lake. That is what is left over from the Highwood River that breached just about a week ago. So since last Thursday, 1,300 people in this town, about 45 minutes southwest of Calgary, still haven't been able to go home. And we actually took a look inside of the town yesterday, and it's still pretty bad. You have debris all over the place. You have mud caked on the sidewalks. You have houses with their foundations just torn out. And here's the thing, though. There are still 300 people inside of this town that have refused to leave. They say they think it's safe, this is their home, and they're here for the long haul. But the RCMP has reiterated, please, we need you to leave. You can see that we're trying to get things shored up, but you are creating a problem for us because we can't spend our time taking care of you. And that's exactly what they said yesterday. Let's take a listen.
We, I believe, have spoken to most of those people. An RCMP officer has been in contact with most of those people and reiterated the message that they must leave. They must leave because of the hazards in the community. Some have left. In fact, just yesterday, we rescued 8 people from the flood zone. Those are individuals who chose to leave for whatever, or chose to stay for whatever reason, found themselves in circumstances where they were running out of supplies or facing certain health issues and had to leave. We had to take personnel away from the search and rescue operation to go get them.
So there you go. This is just a tough situation for everybody. Like I had said in the last hour, people want to get back home. We actually heard from one man who left with only like his slippers in his pants. He had expected to be able to come back into his home just to gather his belongings. Well, that wasn't the case. He wants to come home just to check on his home, but they can't let anybody in because there's nothing there for them. Anita?
All right, it seriously is a fluid situation there. The visuals are still absolutely stunning. Josh, thanks for staying on top of this for us. Appreciate it.
Of course, anytime.
All right, that is Josh Skurnik live in High River, Alberta.
Evacuation alert, but despite mounting safety issues and stern warnings, hundreds of residents still refuse to leave. Our Josh Skurnik is on the scene live in High River this hour. He joins us now. So Josh, just give us a sense of what the situation is like today. Are people still refusing to leave?
Well, yeah, and as we know, as of now, it's about 300 people. But as you can see behind me, they're setting up for a press conference with the mayor of this town. That's going to happen in about an hour, where we will get an update on that number, see if more people have heeded that mandatory evacuation of this town of about 13,000 people, about 45 minutes southwest of Calgary. And yesterday, we actually went inside of the town just to see how bad it really still is. And it's a disaster. There is debris all over the place, trees strewn across the roads, foundations of homes just pulled out, dirt everywhere. And this just plays right into what the RCMP is saying, that these 300 people are not doing anyone a favor. They think that they're safe, but it was just this Sunday that the RCMP says that they had to rescue 8 of them who thought they were in a good position. It got bad real quick, and then they had to pull them out. And they say that is just not the thing that they need to be putting their resources to. Resources like this truck that's just passing behind me. It's going to go over this dirt berm that they had just built. And that berm is just one of the things that they're doing to try and get rid of some of this water, getting back this town back to where it needs to be. I mean, let's talk about this water. As you can see, there is so much standing water left over from when the Highwood River breached almost a week ago. So just imagine something of that nature affecting a town, a small town like this, just how devastating it can be. And now we understand that people are frustrated. People are saying, hey, why can't I just get let back in to even, look after my home, see what's wrong there? But the RCMP and the mayor, who will probably reiterate this, says, hey, we don't have anything for you. There's no electricity, there's no running water. There's every single time you would flush the toilet, it goes right out into the streets there. Sneha?
And Josh, I know you've spoken to some of the residents. So what are they saying? Those who don't want to leave, what are they saying about this?
Yeah. Well, this is what they're saying. They say that they see workers all over the place, people who are trying to clean up the town. Those workers are fine. They're allowed inside. And these residents are saying that, hey, we know best on how to get our own lives back into order. So if these safety personnel are allowed in here to clean up the town, why can't we stay and clean up our own town?
All right, certainly you can tell the tensions are very high. And as you mentioned, Josh, that press conference is going to take place in just about an hour's time. So we will take you back live to the scene for that. Thank you so much.
Of course.
That is Josh Skurnik in. The entire town of 13,000 is under a mandatory evacuation alert, but despite mounting safety issues and multiple stern warnings, hundreds of residents still refuse to leave. Our Josh Skurnik is live on the scene in High River. And Josh, I understand we're going to be getting an update from the mayor shortly. What can we expect?
Well, it's actually in about 5 minutes, and we're going to expect an update on the number of people who still refuse to leave. This town of 13,000 is still under a mandatory evacuation, which they've been under since this last Thursday. The water here is still there. This is all left over behind me from the Highwood River, which breached its banks this past week, and people are still not allowed to go back home. But like I said, there's 300 people who have refused to go. They say that this is our home, we don't think it's that dangerous, and we are here for the long haul. But to that, the RCMP, the mayor, they say, please leave. We need to get back to the things of getting this town back in order. We can't be here babysitting you, making sure that you have food and water. We need you to get out so that we can get on with our job. And they point to the fact that this Sunday, they had to rescue 8 people of those 300 who they thought they were safe in their homes. Things got bad real quick, and real quickly, they had to get pulled out. So that is what the situation is like right now. It's very fluid. They still don't have a timeline for when these people can come back in. And so we have a ton of people that we've talked to, residents who did heed those warnings. They actually came out of the town on time, but they were expecting to get back in to get their things. We talked to one man who all he had were his slippers and his pants, and that was it. We talked to other people saying that, hey, just let us back in order so that we can check on our houses. We want to make sure that things are all right. We want to see our pets. We want to see our belongings. But the fact of the matter is the RCMP and the mayor says that can't happen simply because there's nothing for those people when they come back home. There's no infrastructure right now. There's no water. There's no electricity. If they flush the toilets, the sewage goes right out into the streets. So those are the things that we're expecting to hear updates of. Where are they in getting an infrastructure back? Where are they on the cleanup? Also, you can see behind me the berms that they've been building. Now, I've been here for the entire day, and there has been a lot of activity, a lot of trucks going back and forth with dirt, with other things, big earth movers. So we're going to ask, where is that? Are they pumping out the water? Are they getting things back to normal in this area? Remember, this water is not supposed to be here. This is left over from the Highwood River. So when can we see this lake go away? Now, we're seeing all of these images of Calgary, of people getting back to normal, getting back to their homes and such. That is what the mayor says is not the case here.
All right, certainly a lot of pressing questions, and as you mentioned, that press conference is expected to happen any minute, so we will take you live back to the scene when it begins. All right, thank you so much, Josh.
You're welcome. Thank you.
That is Joshua Skurnik in High River, Alberta. Right now, you're looking at a live podium shot just outside of High River, Alberta. In a matter of minutes, we are expecting a live press conference with the mayor of High River as well as MPP or MLA, Alberta MLA Rick Fraser. They are supposed to outline what the situation is in High River. Some 300 families were told, or 300 residents still refusing to leave the town, which is under a mandatory evacuation alert. A number of safety issues there, no power, no services, and the government simply asking residents that they pack up and leave so they can begin the enormous task of rebuilding. We are going to monitor this. We will take you live to the scene as soon as it begins. Right now, though, I want to tell you about a major police investigation in Atlantic Canada. All right, now we're going to take another quick look at High River, Alberta. There, a press conference is set to begin any minute now. The mayor of the town, as well as Alberta MLA Rick Fraser, expected to address the media to update the situation. Right now, the town of 13,000 under a mandatory evacuation alert. This is one of the hardest hit areas by the Alberta flood disaster. The town literally is offline. There is no power, no services, no grocery stores, no pharmacies. Nothing is open yet. More than 300 people refuse to leave despite repeated calls from police and officials asking that they obey the evacuation alert. It is a very tense situation, a lot of frustrations and high anxiety at the moment. We are expecting that update any minute. You can see RCMP also on the scene there. We're going to take a short break here on Newswire, but we will have much more on the story when we return. Welcome back. We take you live now to High River, Alberta, where the mayor of the town, Emil Blokeland, and the Associate Minister for Disaster Recovery, Rick Fraser, are providing an update to the media on the situation. Let's listen in.
The people who were evacuated under the order from their home for a minimum of 7 days, or declare the inability to return to their home for a minimum of 7 days. On reserve, Aboriginal and Métis Albertans and temporary foreign workers who have been evacuated due to flooding will be able to get the preloaded debit cards. We have mobilized rapid deployment teams to deliver debit cards to people in a staged rollout manner. Beginning tomorrow, the debit processing sites will be set up in Nanton and Vulcan. These are for High River residents only and won't be able to serve the people from other communities. Additional sites will be set up in other communities by Sunday to assist other Albertans affected by flooding. We will have the details on where that will be shortly. We're also working with the chiefs and councils of First Nations communities to determine the best way to deliver those debit cards. I want to clarify to the people of High River who have not evacuated their homes in High River yet. They are not eligible to receive these preloaded debit cards. These people will need to leave High River to become eligible. One adult can apply for the debit card for all members in a household that has been evacuated. First, they need to register with the local authorities or the Red Cross. If a displaced resident has already registered with the local authorities or Red Cross, they will not need to re-register. Residents will need some kind of identification.
$100 per adult, and these cards are available for all Alberta residents who are impacted by the flood.
One for those who have a pre-registered that have pre-registered with local authorities or Red Cross, and one for those who have not pre-registered.
All right, you've been listening to Alberta MLA Rick Fraser discussing plans to distribute preloaded debit cards from the Alberta government. These are cards that are loaded with $1,250 per adult, and these cards are available for all Alberta residents who are impacted by the flood disaster. But I should point that Rick Fraser pointed out that it is clear that High River residents who refuse to leave their homes despite a mandatory evacuation will not be able to access this aid. So once again, urging those residents that are still holding out in High River to make their way to safety and leave the town. We are going to continue to monitor that press conference. The mayor of High River will also be speaking shortly, so we will bring you updates when that happens.
The town of 13,000 is under a mandatory evacuation alert. Safety concerns have led to stern warnings to stay away, but hundreds of residents still refuse to leave. Josh Skurnik is live on the scene in High River. Now, Josh, those people who aren't leaving, obviously they're right in the sights of danger if something happens to go wrong.
Yeah, and we actually just got done with a press conference with the mayor and the Associate Minister of Regional Recovery and Reconstruction, Rick Fraser. He turned out. And one of the more important things that they said was that they're now using monetary incentives to try and get those 300 people out. So we all know now that Albertans are eligible for a debit card of $1,250 to help them in their recovery. $1,250 for adults, $500 per child. Now they have a special center set up just for High River residents that will open tomorrow. But here's the catch. In order to get that debit card, the residents have to be outside of High River. So those people that are staying behind, they can't get that money. So that's one thing. Another thing is that they're now saying not weeks, but days for the people to get back into High River to start to build back up their homes and see what the damage is. But when one reporter asked if Rick Fraser could commit to this time this week for people coming back home, he said, I can't do that. Another thing, the lift at the sewage treatment plant, they say they have the main one operational now. So all of that sewage that's getting pumped into the streets by the people that are remaining, they say it's now getting better. Also, they say they can't really give a timeline because they're finding new dangers every single day. Just 2 days ago, they found a sinkhole in the middle of the road, and they say that if they were to allow people to come back into this town and they fell into one of these things, it would look terrible.
Now, Josh, you've been around there. We've seen the past few days running around Alberta on all these flood sites. Is High River any different than any place else, or does it seem that the site is a little bit more, let's say, disastrous?
It is uncomparable to how bad it is here to the rest of the province. Calgary people are coming back home. They're starting to clean up, get along with their lives. Here, if you can look behind me, you can see this body of water. That's not a lake. That's what's left over from the Highwood River that breached last Thursday. This town is a disaster. I don't know if we have the video, you can put it up. There is debris everywhere. There are cars strewn all over the place. There are trees in the middle of the road. Like I said, people are still pumping sewage back into the streets because the sewage treatment plant isn't running. They have no water. They have no electricity. This place is a disaster zone right now. And we've heard from people that just want to get in just to check on their homes, get their belongings. And they can't. There's nothing that they can, according to the city, do for them.
Josh, thanks for being there, and stay safe, my friend.
Of course.
Well, there's been another. First came the flood, and now the frustration. Right now, High River is waterlogged and locked down. The town of 13,000 is under a mandatory evacuation alert. Safety concerns have led to stern warnings to stay away, but hundreds of residents still refuse to leave. Josh Skurnik is live on the scene in High River. Now, are these people in any danger that are refusing to leave at this moment, Josh?
Well, the RCMP says they are, but first I want to get to this. Emotions are running very, very high. So right after the press conference ended a couple of hours ago, the mayor walked right into a throng of High River residents waiting for him. They swore at him. They yelled every epithet imaginable, demanding to know when they can go back home, why it's taking so long, why there's still water. And then who else showed up? Danielle Smith, the official opposition leader here in Alberta. Well, she is also an MLA for this area and a resident of High River. And she got pretty emotional herself. Let's take a listen.
Well, I think now it may still be that on your main floor and your second floor that a lot of your personal belongings are still okay, and so you may still be able to get a lot of stuff. It doesn't mean that the water all went all the way up to the second floor. So what's your worries? Are we all ready?
Yeah, I'll pick you up. Okay, bye.
They're going to have a plan.
So you can see right there, these people are just frustrated and they want answers and they can't have them. You have to imagine they're looking to Calgary and they have friends there that are already getting back to their lives, getting back to their homes, cleaning up things. Here, that's not the case. These 13,000 people, somewhat, have been homeless since Thursday, and there's no telling when they can come back. Now, there are 300 people who have refused to leave this town, and the RCMP says they will not begin to arrest them. If they're not going to leave, they're not going to leave. But you have to understand, there's no water for them, there's no food, there's no electricity. Right now, their sewage system is pumping raw sewage right onto the streets. So it's not a good situation for the people who have decided to stick it out. It's definitely not a good situation for the people who left and have not even been able to get back to check on their homes. Alex?
Josh, do you see that it's getting worse on the ground, or is there a situation happening right now as the water pulling back? Is it getting any better?
Alex, I've been here all week, and it looks the same. I have to say. And the reason is because they're focusing their efforts on the town now. There's not much water inside of High River, but it's a disaster. If we have some footage, hopefully it's been playing, you can see that there's cars strewn about the streets here. There's trees lying in the way. There's dirt everywhere. It's going to be a long time before they get this place up and running and safe for people to be here. Now, Rick Fraser, he's a minister in charge of cleaning up Alberta. He's an associate minister. He said that, hey, it's going to be days, not weeks. But he would not give a set date, and he said that he cannot commit to people being back in High River this time next week. Alex.
All right, Josh, thank you so much for being there for us.
Of course, of course.
All right. Coming right up on right now, taking predators off the street to...
All right, to Alberta now to catch up on the latest rebuilding and recovery news in the wake of those devastating floods. Our Joshua Skurnik is on the ground and joins us now from High River. And Josh, we've been looking at that picture for the last few days. That's where everybody has to stand because it's been really tough to get into High River. Give us the latest on the ability of residents to get back to their homes.
Well, David, before we get to that, I just want to let you know that we just received word that the Trans-Canada Highway between Banff and Canmore is now open to public travelers. They have one lane open both eastbound and westbound with a speed limit of 60 kilometers per hour. So good news for
That is great
drivers.
news, yeah.
Now here in Exactly, yes. Now here in High River, emotions seem to just get higher every single day. So we had a press conference with the mayor, and right afterwards, he walked right into a throng of about 50 residents who demanded answers. They yelled at him, they swore at him, everything you can imagine. They demanded to know why they can't go home, why it's taking so long, why there's still a lake behind me here. Also who was here was Danielle Smith. She's the MLA for this area, the official opposition leader too, and also a resident of High River. Now, she was trying to give some comfort and answers of her own, but even she got emotional. Take a look at this clip.
Now, it may still be that on your main floor and your second floor, that a lot of your personal belongings are still okay. And so you may still be able to get a lot of stuff. It doesn't mean that the water all went all the way up to the second floor. So what you're worried about, but we already...
Yeah, I'll pick you up. Okay, bye.
They're going to have a plan.
So there you see it, David. That's just a sampling of what people are going through here. And if we can throw up some of the video that we gathered yesterday, this town is still in total disarray. There's debris everywhere, houses without their foundations, trees strewn across the road, cars flipped over. This town is nowhere near ready for people to come back in. And once again, actually, Rick Fraser, he's the assistant minister for getting Alberta back into order. He said that it's now days, not weeks, before people can get back to their homes, but he would not say that this time, this week, people could be back, getting things back in order. Now, he did say that they made a special service for the people of High River, saying that now all Albertans are able to get $1,250 in aid with these debit cards. But he said for High River, they're going to set up a special center for it tomorrow. Now, here's the catch, though. It's kind of an economic incentive for the 300 people who have remained here. He's saying, in order for you to get those cards, you have to leave. So it was almost as if he was kind of goading them to do that through that money. But those people, they haven't left yet. They've had since Thursday to do it, and they still have refused. So this is just a situation where there's no winners. You know, like I said yesterday, these people are looking to their friends in Calgary who are getting back to their lives, getting everything in order, trying to even get back to work. Here, these people, they have nothing, and they don't have any idea when they can do anything to help themselves here in High River. David.
Joshua Skurnik in High River. Thanks so much, Josh. Great reporting. Appreciate it.
Of course.